Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at the Emirates has just kicked off. It's Arsenal against Sheffield United. Arsenal in third at the start of play. Sheffield United rock bottom. It could be a long afternoon for the visitors today, but we're hoping that they are going to put up some resistance and make it as difficult as possible for Arsenal. Though you would expect the Gunners to have lion's share of possession in trying to push forward. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Luke Ashurst taking you through the action. Luke, can we give Sheffield United any kind of chance today?
I'd like to say yes, but I think it's going to be incredibly difficult. The Blades have only scored 3 goals in the last 5 and they're yet to beat Arsenal away from home in the Premier League era. So it could be a very, very tricky test for Sheffield United. But you never know, stranger things have happened in the Premier League and performances have improved. You know, last time out they did only lose by 2-1 against Manchester United and put the Red Devils under an awful lot of pressure. So things could change today.
They certainly could, but here come Arsenal for their first run into the edge of the area. It's Bukayo Saka down the right-hand side. His cross just flicked away at the near post. It looks like it was Robinson with the header. Still a little bit of work for Sheffield United to do at the edge of the box. It's coming back in there. It may well be a free kick there as well. A bit of a foot left in there by Smith Rowe. Crashing in on Oliver Norwood, so it will be a free kick to the Blades just at the edge of their own penalty. Just to remind you very quickly, it's David Raya in goal for Arsenal, a back four of Ben White, William Saliba, Jakub Kiwior and Oleg Zinchenko. The 3 in midfield are Emil Smith-Rowe, Declan Rice and Kai Havertz, with Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and Eddie Nketiah as the attacking 3. For Sheffield United, Wes Foderingham is in goal. It's a back four of Jayden Bogle, Auston Trusty, Jack Robinson and Luke Thomas. 5 across the middle, James McAtee, Oliver Norwood, Anis Ben Slimani, Vinicius Souza and Gustavo Hamer, with Ryan Brewster as the lone frontman, and that's where the ball has gone. Brewster heads that one on as well. It was chased by Hamer, but it's played out for a throw, and that's what Sheffield United are going to have to try and do, potentially try and hit long balls and hope that Brewster can hold it up. It's not his first skill really, is it, holding it up, but he's going to have to try a bit of that today.
No, I think they would have hoped that Ollie McBurney, I should say, would have been fit for this game, but he did pick up a knock against Manchester United, so it's left him out of this matchday squad. I think that probably would have been the game plan. I think the main game plan is going to be these long throws. I mean, they didn't launch it into the box this time, but they are going to try and look to exploit set pieces, Sheffield United.
Yeah, well, it's whipped in here from the left-hand side by Thomas, but it's far too much height on that. Comfortable save for Raya, doesn't waste any time and kicks this one straight down the left-hand side for Martinelli. So well tracked there by Bogle. Martinelli still able to hold it up now for Arsenal. Thought about switching it and just rolls it down the left-hand side. Smith Rowe has the overlap from Zinchenko, and that's where the ball has gone. But again, good work there from Bogle, just stopping any cross from Zinchenko. Now a ball comes in from the left-hand side. Looks like it was Rice with the cross. That one is easily swept away back into midfield. Brewster will chase that one down, but it's going to be picked up here by Saliba, playing it back towards David Raya. It's only one of 2 games being played at the moment in the Premier League. Bournemouth against Burnley is the other game. In the earlier game, Chelsea lost to Brentford by 2-0, and we still have a 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League. Wolves against Newcastle United. We have got one game in the Championship on our service this afternoon. It's Ipswich against Plymouth. But of course, any goals going in the Championship or the Premier League, we will let you know. But for the time being, Arsenal, as you would expect, plenty of possession inside their own half. Kiwior looked up for a long ball, just decides to play it short now, though, towards Declan Rice. And Sheffield United, we could see straight away, actually, interesting enough, Arsenal in possession on the halfway line, and Sheffield United's offside line is only about 10 yards away from the centre circle, so they really are trying to condense the pitch, and that will be a good tactic for them as long as they keep that line very solid, because as soon as it goes wrong, Arsenal can exploit that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's obvious what they're trying to do. They are trying to congest the middle as much as possible with that 5 in midfield, and then the back 4 as well, but Arsenal are so good at moving it from side to side like they have now.
They have now. They've switched from right to left, I should say, and now it's with Martinelli pushing in from the left-hand side, puts a cross into the box, headed away by Robinson, out for a throw to Arsenal down the left-hand side. And taken goes. I thought Zinchenko was going to take it quickly, just waits to see where his teammates are. In the end, chooses to play it into Smith Rowe. We did get a quick shot of Odegaard on the bench for Arsenal this afternoon. I suppose the thinking there from Arteta is that perhaps Odegaard, if he's going to have a rest for one league game, maybe this is the game where he could afford to do it.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, he's gone with 2 very attacking centre midfielders in Kai Havertz and Emil Smith Rowe, who are almost wingers or number 10s in their own right, and just saying to Declan Rice, you're going to set the tempo in the middle of the park and allow those 2 to move the ball forward, which I think is sensible, because it means that yes, there's more space for Arsenal in the middle, bearing in mind there are 4 central midfielders pretty much for Sheffield United, but it also means there's quite a lot of creativity on the pitch, while also allowing his captain to get a fair bit of a rest after a European game midweek.
Absolutely, yes. Arsenal can afford to just rest a couple of players against the side who they feel they should be able to get past this afternoon, and they're pushing forward again here down the left now with Martinelli. He's up against Bogle and McAtee. Drops his shoulder, trying to find space for the cross. He rolls it to Rice at the edge of the box. He's got space for a shot. I thought about going for it. He does go for it. In the end, it gets a deflection, and Robinson has to deal with that. There was still a chance for Nketiah, but Robinson turned very quickly and was able to clear that back into midfield. Zinchenko now, as he likes to do, although he is the left back, he does like to sort of drift into a central role, and then he goes back towards Saliba on the halfway line. Now towards Ben White, but this pretty much, I imagine this will be the formula for most of the game today. Arsenal seeing plenty of the ball, and Sheffield United just doing what they can to try and frustrate them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know obviously they are at the bottom of the table. They're not necessarily going to have the highest quality of players on the ball. No disrespect to them, but I think when Sheffield United have the chance, they've got to try and keep the ball for as long as possible, because that will frustrate Arsenal just as much if it's ruining their momentum and ruining their flow in this game.
Absolutely, they've, as I say, they've got players who are certainly able to get something out of nothing. Someone like Hamer, for example, certainly can create a chance or take a shot from a long way, but they've got to be in that position in the first place. Here come Arsenal again, though. Saka and Nketiah swapping passes into the box. The ball just wouldn't sit up for Bukayo Saka, and it's cleared long. And in actual fact, there was a foul in the midst of all of that. Our referee, Tim Robinson, spotting the foul. It will be a free kick to Sheffield United inside their own penalty area. It has been a bright start for Arsenal. No work for Wes Foderingham as yet, but certainly plenty of work for his defender. We're getting a replay of that last chance that the Gunners had, where Rice did take a shot. He actually almost took a little bit too long to set himself, but it's that line of defenders doing well to get in the way of that. It was Robinson with the block on that occasion. Clearance now from Foderingham, straight down the middle, aimed at Brewster, just over his head. Saliba with the header. Loose ball then drops to Oliver Norwood, but he rushed his pass there slightly. And Arsenal now have it back here with Declan Rice deep inside his own half. Goes down, going back towards Saliba at the edge of his own penalty area. Well, let's say the form for Sheffield United, it's pretty much non-existent, really, isn't it? Defeat after defeat in the last 5 or 6 games. But little signs of improvement. There were a few moments where they looked better against Fulham, and as you mentioned as well, look, they did look okay against Manchester United for long spells, and it actually took a really good goal from Dalot to settle it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most frustrating thing for Sheffield United is when they picked up that first point against Everton, it came right before an international break, so almost all that momentum from a brilliant performance at home against the Toffees was kind of taken away from them by the fact that there was then a weeks-long pause because of an international break, and since then they've just never really looked like being able to get themselves back into it. They've had some tricky fixtures in recent weeks. Obviously, we've mentioned Manchester United at home against Newcastle was obviously a disaster, losing by 8-0, and then Tottenham Hotspur away from home, but they were good against Spurs. They arguably deserved a draw, ended up losing that game having been in front and looking like they could potentially pick up their first win of the season. So they've not been as bad as maybe the form suggests, but I also think as well it's difficult to see where they have truly deserved to pick up 3 points and where those 3 points are going to come from.
No, that's true. It is absolutely right that they've been close in certain games, but you can't really say they've been robbed of a win in any of their matches so far. And I think that's the problem for them. They haven't quite been able to. But looking at their fixtures in the next month or so, they're at home to Wolves next week. They've got a game at home to Bournemouth, and they're away to Burnley in early December. So there are points to be had there for Sheffield United, as long as they start picking up a little bit of form, a little bit of rhythm before then. But a long ball down the left-hand side is to no one in particular. That is out for a throw to Arsenal now. White looking to try and restart play as quickly as possible. Don't want to be giving the ball away too easily like they just did then. Ben White just taking a moment here to see where his teammates are. Sheffield United have sent quite a few players forward here just to try and make it as difficult as possible for Arsenal to play out from the back. And quite rightly, referee Tim Robinson just hurrying Ben White along, just to try and take this throw on a little bit quicker. The throw is taken, but after a quick header, the ball is now flicked up in the air by Luke Thomas, and Brewster hits the deck. I don't think there was any appeal for a foul, but he's still trying to win the ball back here off Saliba, who slips, and then Brewster may be able to take advantage of this. He leaves the ball then for Slimani. He plays it square into the box. There's half a chance there for Hamer. It's a vital interception there from Declan Rice. Just got half a foot in there just to stop Hamer in his tracks. That was potentially a half chance there for Sheffield United. They're pressing here as well as Zinchenko trying to play out from the back. But in the end, Arsenal are able to just calm things. But that's exactly what they need to do, just get in Arsenal's face and hope for a mistake. Yeah,
exactly. They were physical there. They forced Ben White to take a long time over the throw, and obviously there's an obsession with the top teams of not wanting to give the ball away. But then when you pen them in and you're physical and put in firm challenges rather than sitting deep, it causes them problems.
It does, and now Sheffield United having to go back into defensive mode, though Arsenal into the United half, but just forced to check things and go back towards the halfway line again. It's with Saliba to Kivior. But once again, you can see Kivior was almost shaping for a diagonal ball then, but he can see that with Sheffield United pushing as high as they are, it's going to be difficult. They do finally get a ball towards the edge of the area. It's a long ball from Saliba aimed at Kai Havertz, headed back into midfield, headed back in towards the edge of the Sheffield United penalty area. That was a good header there from Vinicius Souza. And Souza has it back here now. A little bit of space opening up potentially here for McAtee down the right-hand side. But he's in no rush. He wants his teammates to get forward. They're not interested in a quick counter. They're trying to get a few men forward. Now a ball goes into Brewster, who does well initially to get away from Saliba. He hits the deck. He thinks he might have been fouled. The referee certainly wasn't interested in that. Bogle trying to win the ball back. And eventually a free kick's given against Jayden Bogle there. Let's just have a look. Hopefully they'll show us a replay to see whether or not there was a foul on Brewster. I didn't think there was. But potentially there was a little bit of contact there that the Sheffield United forward was asking about. And I must say there wasn't much of a foul on Saliba there either, really, for my money.
No, there wasn't, but I think the referee sensed that we could be stood there for an awful long time waiting for Saliba to play the ball. Obviously, he's a lot stronger than the likes of Jayden Bogle and Ryan Brewster, so it was going to be very difficult for him to maintain the ball, but also to make it not look like he'd fouled Ryan Brewster. It probably wasn't a foul, but it was a firm challenge in the back of the former Liverpool man, and it does mean that he's probably inclined to go down. It is going to be a tough afternoon for Ryan Brewster because he's not used to playing up front on his own. He's not the most physical of presences, and he's going to have very few touches by the looks of things.
He is, but then on the other side of that, as you mentioned yourself, he's not really the first choice striker here at Sheffield United anyway, so does get an opportunity to stake a claim as a long ball now goes towards Eddie Nketiah. He's trying to get away from his man. He's appealing that it should be a corner kick, and Sheffield United, much to their frustration, have conceded a corner kick. There was Trusty with the final touch as far as the referee is concerned. Meanwhile, in the other Premier League game at the Vitality, it's Bournemouth 0, Burnley 1, and it's Charlie Taylor with the goal for Burnley. Well, Andoni Iraola said before the game that he knows he's under pressure. He's not joking. If Bournemouth will lose to Burnley today, I think that's going to be very, very difficult for the Bournemouth manager. They've had a very, very difficult start, having gone to the trouble of changing their manager at the end of last season. A corner kick to Arsenal then from the left-hand side. It's going to be whipped in by Martinelli, aimed at the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's a good corner. It just needed somebody to attack it. A couple of Arsenal players went for it. Looks like Kivior might have been the closest, but it eludes him as well.
Yeah, it was a really nice ball in from Martinelli. It's going to be difficult for Arsenal from set pieces stage just because of how physical and how big Sheffield United are. They're probably aware that they need to make the most of set pieces themselves, and Arsenal probably are aware that they're not going to be the most fruitful for them today. I think the last thing Paul Heckingbottom will want is if Sheffield United concede their goals from set pieces, because they're doing so well at frustrating Arsenal at the minute, and if you're to concede a sloppy goal from a set piece, it just allows the Gunners in, and it probably eases the tension in the stadium.
Well, it absolutely does. As I say, they don't want to give anything for free to Arsenal, because Arsenal are quite capable of taking a lead just on their own merit anyway. So it's so important for the players just to make things be as organised as possible, and to absolutely eliminate any have as few individual errors as possible. There was a VAR check out to the Vitality. That seems to have passed now, so it looks as though that Burnley goal will stand. Meanwhile, it's a throw on to Sheffield United down the left-hand side. Luke Thomas, the former Leicester City man, trying to get his teammates just to come back a little bit to give him something to aim for. He does get that ball in. It's headed on by Hamer, and it will be chased here by Brewster, but Ben White easily gets there first. Plays it back towards Jakub Kivior, who then plays a very quick, too quick a sweeping ball down the left-hand side for Zinchenko. And up there from the Polish international, knows he probably rushed that one a little bit. Sheffield United now back towards the edge of their own perimeter. They're in their sort of grey change strip this afternoon, and they're looking at that away end. No surprise to see that plenty of supporters have made the trip down to London today. They're always a very well supported club, Sheffield United, and I think all those fans certainly would have hoped for perhaps just a little bit more activity in the transfer market over the summer. But now they've lost the ball in midfield, a chance to get that ball towards the edge of the area for Arsenal. Doesn't quite get through to Nketiah, and now the visitors have a chance to break. It's with Hamer, and he decides to go for goal from the halfway line. And I mean, he shouldn't really be doing that anyway, but if he's going to do that, at least have a decent effort. He scuffed that, and it's almost gone out for a throw. It was that far away.
I think Paul Heckingbottom will be really disappointed with his start of summer signing there. He had two men on the right-hand side he could have played the ball to, who had the run on Ben White on that side. And I know Gustavo Hammer is the top goal scorer for Sheffield United with 2 goals, but you'd have to have scored 20 goals by this point to warrant a shot from there. It was a really poor effort from the former Coventry City man.
He's got to do better there as Hammer. Now here come Arsenal down the right-hand side. Nketiah finding Saka, who is stopped at the edge of the area by Thomas, but it's still kept alive here in midfield. Here is that emergency midfielder again, Zinchenko, in that central role, playing it to square to Rice. Back in towards Zinchenko. Arsenal can afford to just mix and match a little bit with the amount of possession they're getting. Now it's with Martinelli down the left-hand side. Hamer and Sousa trying to stop. Bogle and Sousa, I should say, trying to stop him, but he gets an overlap here as well from Zinchenko, who plays it across the 6-yard box. There's a challenger coming in, and I think in the end it just gets straight through towards the goalkeeper Foderingham anyway. Yeah,
it was really nice play from Arsenal. Really great run from Zinchenko to get inside Gabriel Martinelli and just find that space, having had the double team of Sousa and Bogle come across. But the problem is Sheffield United have got so many players in the central area that even if you are to find that space towards the byline, getting the ball into the box, you're always going to be outnumbered. It was only really Nketiah inside the penalty area that Zinchenko was looking for. There's about 4 or 5 Sheffield United players in and around the penalty area trying to stop that ball from getting to him.
Sheffield United in the meantime trying to get a little bit of possession inside the Arsenal half. They almost managed it there down the left-hand side, but just not enough bodies there really to try and make it stick. And once again Arsenal just comfortably able to play out with about 16 minutes gone. Unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary goalless at the Emirates between Arsenal and Sheffield United. And the other game, in the other Premier League game, it is Bournemouth 0, Burnley 1. Charlie Taylor with the goal for the Clarets in that game. Eddie Nketiah has dropped a little bit deeper this time as he plays a short ball here towards Bukayo Saka on the right-hand side. Once again, Sheffield United with that offside line as high as possible here, making it difficult for Arsenal to just sit in with a bit of possession inside the United half. Declan Rice trying to inject a little bit more pace into this possession. There's no real options here. They just have to be patient here, Arsenal, to try and find a ball down one of the channels. Saliba into Saka. Once again, looking up to see for whether or not they have any option to play it long. It's now back with Zinchenko. Towards Kivior down the left-hand side now. Martinelli being closed down by Bogle. Plays it inside towards Smith Rowe. He was out for a long time with injury, Smith Rowe. He's been very pleased to get a start this afternoon, trying to rebuild his career. I say rebuild his career, maybe it's too strong an expression, but certainly get his sort of name back into the first team.
Yeah, he's a player who, was responsible for the positive energy returning back to the Emirates under Mikel Arteta. The likes of him and Bukayo Saka, the youngsters, being very, very popular with the Arsenal faithful. And then since picking up that injury, the squad's almost progressed past Emile Smith-Rowe. As harsh as it sounds, there are now some real quality players. And I'm not saying Smith-Rowe's not up to that level, but because of the injury, his development was incredibly stunted, and it's now going to take a fair bit of time to get back into this side, but I think a start today will do him the world of good.
Certainly will, and he will certainly be trying to stake a claim. In the next game for Arsenal is away to West Ham United in the Carabao Cup, so potentially that's the sort of game where Smith Rowe may get a start as well. And then next weekend the Gunners are away to Newcastle United in the Saturday evening kickoff. But just as I say that, Arsenal, after a long spell of possession, have given the ball away here in midfield. Luke Thomas pushing forward, and he was brought down as he was trying to get past Declan Rice. So at least it's a little bit of positivity from Sheffield United. They cut out the pass. It was Declan Rice's ball that was cut out here by Thomas, so he sort of felt that he had to then make up the mistake. You can see how angry Mikel Arteta was there on the sideline. They're realising that his summer signing had given the ball away, keen to win it back, but in doing so has given away the free kick. And the chance now for Sheffield United to try and send men forward. Arsenal have set up at the edge of the D with their offside. Hammer is standing over this one. He's got 5-6 players to aim for there at the edge of the area if he can pick out the right ball. We already saw him shooting from the half line. That certainly didn't work out for him at all. But it is going to be Hammer. Puts a little bit of an angle on that. But again, it's too close to David Raya. It's catching practice for the Arsenal keeper. And again, he's very quick to kick this one out. And it's a chance now for Martinelli. He's up against Bogle. He gets to the edge of the area. Skips past him. Skips past another player. Gets it in towards Saka. Saka going for goal. And in the end, it's I think there was a shot from Saka, but it got a big deflection and just rolls into the hands of Foderingham. Potentially, Arsenal should have actually done better with that chance.
I think they should have done. I think it's a really nice ball from David Raya looking for Gabriel Martinelli, who does so well to beat both Jadon Bogle and Ollie Norwood. I'm not quite sure why he passed the ball to Saka. He probably could have kept going on his own. In the end, the Arsenal captain of the day just couldn't quite find the space to get a clear shot on goal. But it comes from the fact that Arsenal maybe aren't used to playing on the counter-attack at the minute. They're more used to having a spell of possession and having the ball themselves. So in that position, the players might just be a bit unfamiliar as to what to do in that scenario.
No, it's true. And I mean, looking at that replay, it is almost though Saka wasn't expecting the pass from Martinelli there as that move was taking place. But Sheffield United back into the Arsenal half now with Oliver Norwood. Square here towards Ben Slimani. McAtee is joined on this attack as well, coming to the middle rather than being on the right-hand side. Once again, Arsenal almost doing a carbon copy of what Sheffield United have done. They've now flooded their half of the field, making it very difficult for Paul Heckingbottom's side to find any kind of channels to try and play in. So sort of 10 passes later, Sheffield United are forced back into their own half. And it's American Auston Trusty now playing it back towards Foderingham. Robinson towards Ben Slimani, back towards his own keeper. So for the time being, Sheffield United have just stopped Arsenal in their tracks slightly, just restricting them a little bit in terms of possession, and now potentially they may have a chance to go forward. Hammer does really well to control that, exchanging a quick pass with Brewster. He gets it back and then switches play over towards the right-hand side. That's a really good ball as well to pick out McAtee. He drops his shoulder, gets to the edge there, and goes for goal as well. It's charged down at the edge of the box. It looks like it was Havertz with the challenge, but now Arsenal can't quite get the second ball. This is good work from Sheffield United. Certainly the best little spell of possession that they've had in this game so far. Robinson now. Leaving that ball in the end for Ben Slimani. Now back to Oliver Norwood. To the halfway line now for Trusty. They're growing into this game of Sheffield United. They've sort of weathered the early storm that you would have expected from Arsenal. And although they still can't really do anything from open play, and in actual fact a couple of set pieces they've had haven't really helped them either, but they are starting to look a little bit more comfortable on the ball. Yeah,
exactly. I think the biggest thing is when they have possession, they haven't just given it away straight away. They've looked after the ball for a little bit. They've tested Arsenal, and look, this is a very solid defensive unit for Arsenal. They've only conceded 4 goals in the last 5 games. Those games have included games against Manchester City, against Spurs, against Chelsea, teams who have got very, very strong firepower. So we know that this Arsenal team can defend, despite the fact there have been some changes in the backline. Kivior obviously coming in for Gabriel. So, you know, they are going to struggle in this game to come forward and create chances, Sheffield United. But as long as they keep Arsenal honest, I think it will mean that Arsenal have to give them respect, and they can't just bomb every player forward. They have to maintain discipline, and when Sheffield United have got 5 midfielders and 4 defenders, it does make things difficult for Arsenal as well if they're not able to push everybody forward.
No, it's absolutely true, and that's something, of course, that Arsenal, although Sheffield United have certainly been very well organised today, it shouldn't really be that much of a surprise to Arsenal. This is how the Blades have set up, and of course many teams playing against Arsenal this season are going to have to be in a defensive mode, but it's just a question of how Arsenal break them down. As a ball down the left-hand side from Zinchenko. Just a little bit overhit there for Martinelli. Either the pass was a little bit too strong, or indeed Martinelli perhaps just a little bit too slow to react on that. But Mikel Arteta, he's always very animated, isn't he? Whether his side are 3-0 up or 3-0 down, but he's not happy at the moment, is he?
No, he's not, and I can kind of understand why, in the sense that, look, he'll probably want his side to be 1-0 up by now, and he'll, you know, make the rest of the game a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, Sheffield United have come out and they've defended really well. It's obvious that they've worked on this shape of having a 5 in front of the 4. And Arsenal, you know, they're still a young team. Like some of the best teams in the world struggle to play against a deep block. And this is a team who, only last year were they challenging for the title. The year before, they hadn't even qualified for the Champions League. So this is going to be the sort of side that they're going to struggle against, because every team struggles against it. Even Manchester City at times this season have struggled to play against the deep block. So yes, Mikel Arteta's going to be frustrated that they haven't found themselves any real clear-cut opportunities. But at the end of the day, you have to respect the opposition and respect what they've been capable of doing.
No, they absolutely haven't. This is something that Arsenal are just going to have to try and bear with, and hopefully, from their point of view, hopefully find a way to get through the Sheffield United defence. Haven't been able to do it for the time being. Antoine Semenyo, by the way, has equalised for Bournemouth in the game at the Vitality. It's 1-1 between Bournemouth and Burnley. Here we've had nearly 24 minutes. With the first half of the first half gone, I'll now hand over to Luke to take us through to half-time.
Thank you very much. As Declan Rice has the ball inside the centre circle, he'll just lay it off to Smith Rowe. He's been a little bit quiet in this first half so far, just trying to play himself back into this Arsenal side, get himself back into fitness. But he's on the ball now once again, lays it off to Zinchenko, who's tucked in narrow to receive the ball in midfield. No real pressure on the ball from Sheffield United, as there hasn't been for the entire entirety of this first half unless it's been in and around the Arsenal penalty area. Declan Rice just lays it off to Ben White, and now Ben Slimani can step up looking to try and put pressure on the former Brighton man, but he'll go back to Saliba, he'll go all the way back to David Raya inside the penalty area, who didn't have his best game away from home against Chelsea, but was still able to help his side to a 2-2 draw, and he's played some nice passes over the top looking for Martinelli in this game. I think that's probably the outlook that Arsenal are going to look for the most, as he himself, the Brazilian, has been fouled by Jadon Bogle, and the referee's just going to have a word with the former Derby man just to let him know that he can't be continuing with these types of challenges. We're just going to see a replay as to what's put the Brazilian under some discomfort. He has kicked him in the left leg. It is a sore one.
I think that's a yellow to me. I mean, if he just sort of clipped him as he was trying to win the ball, then you could say that it's one of those that it's almost unavoidable. But there's a little bit of a maybe a swing, but a bit of a swipe, I would say, with the left foot there from Jadon Bogle. So potentially, if the referee maybe stood at a slightly different angle, there could have been a thought of a yellow card. Straight away, the camera focusing on Leandro Trossard, who would of course be the natural replacement if Martinelli wasn't able to play on. I mean, you mentioned David Raya with his long passing. That is one of the reasons I think why he's almost sort of been shoehorned into an Arsenal team where really you could argue that Ramsdale wasn't doing that much wrong last season, but potentially the distribution of Raya is something that Arteta wants in his team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're just seeing pictures of Gabriel Jesus and Cedric Suarez in the stands at the Emirates, both of which are out injured. I think Gabriel Jesus is quite a big loss for Mikel Arteta. He'd mentioned midweek that he was really quite disappointed with the injury of Gabriel Jesus. He knows he's a huge part to this Arsenal side, and while yes, Eddie Nketiah is not the worst of backups, I think the amount that Gabriel Jesus offers in build-up and the tactical diversity that he allows Arsenal to play with is really important. So when he is out injured, it is a big loss.
Oh, he is. I mean, he could easily play as a winger, and maybe not as a sort of brilliant number 10, but he could certainly do more of the number 10 work compared to Nketiah. Really is just an out-and-out striker. He needs more of the service, really, whereas Jesus can almost sort of get the ball himself and try and create something. But as I say, they would have been fairly pleased with the start Arsenal have made. Things have just sort of tailed off maybe in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Sheffield United just proving themselves to be a little bit more of a difficult side to beat. Both teams using this as an unofficial drinks break. As it turns out, it's taking a little while for Martinelli to get back on his feet.
Yeah, it is, yeah, and I think this will... Paul Heckingbottom will appreciate this moment to talk to his players. I think he'll be very happy with the way they've defended and the way they've set up. I think he'll maybe just be giving words that we saw him talking to James McAtee. I think he'll be just giving words to his attacking players, just saying how much more pressure can you put on Arsenal. You know, when you have the ball, can we try and look at these certain positions to be in rather than just, you know, trying to play it into Ryan Brewster or switching it long and hoping for the best. But I think now that play's continued, we'll see if any changes have been made to the approaches that both sides are making in this game, as both managers were in very firm conversation with their players. It's Kivior now looking to try and bring it forward into the Sheffield United half, but he's halted by Gustavo Hamer, so he just knocks it back to his centre-back partner Saliba inside the centre circle now. Smith Rowe drops short to pick up the ball, still looking for some options in front of him, but he goes square to Ben White, just looking for somebody in front of him, but the way Sheffield United set up, it just kind of blocks off a lot of passing lanes. He was able to find Havertz, so spreads it further onto the right-hand side for Saka. He'll go back inside to Declan Rice, stepping up from his holding midfield position, looking to go towards the edge of the penalty area, plays it in to Nketiah. What a touch from Nketiah, and what a goal that is from Arsenal. Brilliant ball in from Declan Rice, but all credit has got to go to Eddie Nketiah, because that is a brilliant turn away from the defender to allow him one-on-one with Wes Foderingham, and it's a simple finish for the Arsenal striker, and the Gunners lead 1-0.
They do, and Nketiah puts his hand to his ear. Maybe he has been getting a little bit of grief on social media. Maybe there are a few fans sort of questioning his striking abilities, but he silenced them with that. It's a superb goal from Arsenal. It needed that little bit of extra quality. Just sort of quick possession and quick passing alone wasn't enough to take care of Sheffield United's defence. But straight from that long pause after the injury to Martinelli, it's just a little bit of midfield possession here with Declan Rice. He thought about a pass towards the right-hand side for Ben White, but then he spots Eddie Nketiah, and the way Nketiah was able to use the pace of the ball to then cushion it down, get away from the defender, and then roll it past Foderingham, it really is top striking breathtaking work there from Nketiah. It's a nutmeg on the way to find Nketiah as well from Rice, but superb goal from Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the defensive shape of Sheffield United and how good it had been in the opening half an hour or so. I think there they could maybe look at their midfield a little bit and say those passes through to Havertz and to Saka were a little bit too easy, and it meant that the back line was stretched, but take nothing away from Arsenal, and in particular Eddie Nketiah, because that's a brilliant turn away from Auston Trusty to find themselves 1-0 up, and all of a sudden now that'll probably give Arsenal the confidence to potentially go on and get another 2 or 3 if they are capable of doing so. But Sheffield United have the ball now with Gustavo Hamer, but Ryan Brewster had drifted offside and was, while trying to get back on, it was kicked by Hamer, and it'll go straight through to David Raya inside the Arsenal half. I mean, the level for attempts, the two sides, it's 2 apiece, but only 1 on target, and that is that Eddie Nketiah in goal. So that is the difference at the minute, is the fact that Eddie Nketiah was able to get a shot on target and Sheffield United haven't been able to.
Well, they haven't, but if you'd have said to me before kickoff that it would take Arsenal 28 minutes to get a shot on target, I would have been very surprised. I would have thought, well, surely it's going to come sooner than that. But it's credit to Sheffield United's organisation. The trouble is, though, they don't get any credit for it, really, other than us just saying it. They're actually in a position now where they're losing this game, and they've got to try and adapt in some way to make it a little bit more competitive, and it'll be interesting to see if they've got a way to do that.
Yeah, Saliba has the ball, goes inside to Declan Rice, just trying to move it forward, finds Eddie Nketiah, who's dropped deep, quick 1-2 between him and Emile Smith-Rowe, now trying to drive forward, but it's a good challenge by James McAtee. It still comes out to Martinelli, though, on the left-hand side. He's forced back to Declan Rice, just trying to find some gaps through the middle, but Zinchenko's there to offer his support. Now Saliba inside the centre circle, onto the right-hand side for Ben White, dinks one over the top looking for Bukayo Saka, well dealt with by Luke Thomas, and Gustavo Hamer can just knock it back to him, looking for Ryan Bruce now over the top. That's a nice ball for Gustavo Hamer, and now he can look to try and drive forward. Brilliant defending though from Declan Rice and William Saliba, and the play's broken down once again. Zinchenko finds Havertz trying to play it back onto the right hand side, but it's well blocked by Sheffield United. Arsenal have won the ball back though through Ben White. Lovely footwork from Ben White to try and move the ball forward. Once again challenged well by Sheffield United, and now there's a potential for a counter attack with James McAtee on the right hand side, squared up by Zinchenko. Good challenge by the Ukrainian captain. It'll be a throw in on the right hand side for Sheffield United. I've been a little bit disappointed with James McAtee and Gustavo Hamer, because we know they're players with an awful lot of quality, and they haven't really shown it on the ball today.
No, they haven't. A couple of occasions where both of them could have done a little bit more. Of course, we mentioned Hamer's halfway line effort, which was just completely unacceptable. McAtee giving the ball away a little bit too easily there as well. And these are the sorts of games where these players have to stand up and be counted. They can't just sort of hide behind the fact that they're in a side down the lower end of the table where, you know, perhaps it's a defensive setup. They've got to try and be that player that just sets them apart from the rest. And I agree that I don't think they've done enough of that yet. They've just got to try and be a little bit more confident.
Yeah, absolutely is. They have the ball along the back line with Jack Robinson looking to try and send it long, but it's blocked well by Nketiah, and it'll go all the way out for a goal kick for Wes Foderingham to take. I think now that Arsenal are a goal up and they feel like they've got a little bit of breathing room, I think they will start to try and press Sheffield United a little bit more, try and make their backline feel a little bit more uncomfortable as they're doing so now, as Foderingham took the goal kick short to Auston Trusty. He then tries to play it long looking for Ryan Brewster, but it's headed well by Kivior, but Sheffield United retain possession. Ball sent over the top for Brewster. It's a lovely touch from the former Liverpool man, then plays it onto the right hand side for Jadon Bogle, doing really well to hold off the Polish international, and now Vinny Souza has it in the middle of the park. Norwood, the captain, goes square to Jack Robinson. He'll go back to Norwood, and Arsenal just sitting off a little bit. They were expecting the long ball, so they're forcing Sheffield United to keep it on the floor when they're maybe not as comfortable doing so. That's a nice ball though through the gap to Ben Slimani. He's got a space in behind for Gustavo Hamer inside the penalty area, now looking to try to play the ball into the middle, but it's well blocked by Ben White. I thought maybe Hamer could have cut onto his right foot a little bit quicker there, instead tried to go towards the byline, but the offside flag has gone up anyway, so Sheffield United won't get the corner. As we're going to see a replay, it's very tight. It's very, very tight. I mean, it could go one way or another. VAR would obviously have checked it if there was a goal, and it would have been a lengthy VAR check. But you know, it was tight, and I think maybe got it right, the linesman. But either way, decisions like that tight, you can't really say either way.
No, it's a difficult one. I can see why the Sheffield United will be frustrated with that, but on the other hand, if they were to get an equaliser from it and then find out it was offside, of course that'll probably be an even sort of bigger deflation for them. But it's little glimmers here for the visitors. They've got to try and find those little channels down the right, down the left, to play in McAtee or Hamer to give them half a chance of actually doing something. But again, that was very close, and well, from Arsenal's point of view, they don't want to give Sheffield United a sniff. They just got to be sort of as ruthless as they have been so far in this game. Because if they do make mistakes or do start to just drop off, then Sheffield United do have the players that can try and take advantage.
Yeah, it's important to remember that it is still a Premier League game. You are playing against Premier League opposition, and no matter who you're playing against in this league, you will be punished for your mistakes. As Ben White now has it in possession, just walking with the ball, looking for some options in front of him. I think Arsenal will be quite happy just to, sit off and allow it to get to half-time at 1-0. I think Sheffield United will probably look to try and keep it at 1-0 unless they sense that they can maybe sniff an equalising goal. Ball plays through a gap though to Emile Smith-Rowe. He's got space on the left-hand side for Martinelli. Instead goes centrally, and Nketiah picks up the ball. It's a great challenge from Robinson, and Sheffield United can have possession once again. It goes all the way back to Foderingham, who's forced to kick it long under pressure from Martinelli as Ryan Brewster looks to try and flick it in behind, but there's nobody up there with him, and it goes back to Kivior in the Arsenal defence. I think that's the downside that Sheffield United have. I mean, obviously it's worked to an extent having the 5 in midfield, but having Bruce on his own, it leads to moments like that where he does try to flick it on where a natural second striker would be, but there isn't anybody there on the pitch to do that.
No, I mean, it's almost like he's almost hoping that maybe one of his midfield teammates will start to push up a little bit further, but then that means they break their shape and potentially Arsenal could take advantage of that. So they've really still got to be very careful. As the ball over the top in now, potentially for Smith-Rowe, but that's a fantastic challenge there at the last ditch from Trusty to put it out for a corner.
Yeah, Zinchenko looks really disappointed with himself. It was he that Saliba was trying to find with the run over the top. It's a lovely run from Zinchenko and beautifully weighted ball as well from Saliba. It's just that touch on the chest from Zinchenko put it a little bit too far in front of him and allowed the American to stretch and get a foot in and put it out for a corner kick. Zinchenko really quite frustrated with himself, but it's a difficult one to take on his chest as the corner's taken short by Arsenal to Bukayo Saka. He'll go further wide to Zinchenko. Thought about whipping it in the end, just maintains possession. He gives it to Martinelli, who's square, then goes further to the right hand side for Saliba, squared up by Ben Slimani, does well to move it forward. Now Saka under pressure from Harmer goes back to Smith-Rowe, and then Martinelli once again, then to Zinchenko onto the left hand side. Sheffield United just staying deep, maintaining possession. Arsenal, one of those sides where they don't want to send the ball long. They want to keep possession for as long as possible unless that long ball is a guaranteed successful pass. And that's why from that corner, they've just kind of kept a hold of the ball and allowed Sheffield United to sit deep. And from a neutral point of view, it's a little bit boring, but I'm sure Mikel Arteta will probably be actually quite happy with that.
Yes, absolutely. I think sometimes you want a team to just hit and hope and actually go for a diagonal pass to try and split a defence open. But Arsenal aren't bound to do that. They're 1-0 up against a team that haven't really shown any kind of attacking threat at all. So they know they can afford to take a short corner and then just sort of go back into a sort of possession mode where they're not really trying to force the issue at all. Maybe they'll be hoping that Sheffield United sort of push out a little bit, they can go over the top behind them.
Yeah, as Kivior now has it on the ball, spreads it onto the left-hand side for Zinchenko, just looking for a bit of movement in front of him. It's actually Martinelli who dropped deep to pick it up. He goes then onto the left-hand side for Smith-Rowe. Lovely ball over the top, looking for, I think it's Bukayo Saka. He then lost one. I was going to say into the middle, but it's actually just gone straight out for a goal kick as he got underneath it. Did the Arsenal captain for the day, and it will be a goal kick for Wes Foderingham and Sheffield United, who I think they are better just sending these goal kicks on. Earlier on in the game, they did try to play a short goal kick, which just put them under a little bit more pressure than I think Paul Heckingbottom would have liked. They have taken it short once again, and it's now Luke Thomas on the ball, who eventually does send it long, looking for Gustavo Hammer. But I think when you play it short to one of the defenders and you try to send it long then, because the defender's under pressure, it's a harder ball to find than whereas if Wes Foderingham just kicks it long straight away, he's under no pressure. He can have time to try and find the pass that he wants.
Oh, I agree. I just wonder if maybe it's something that Heckingbottom has told them when they had that impromptu drinks break after about 26, 27 minutes, because it seems like since then they have tried to take a few more short goal kicks. On this occasion, it's actually worked out for them, but I think that there is some merit to just trying to send it long and potentially give that defence a little bit of a breather, as you mentioned. Otherwise, it's just going to be sort of, we've survived an attack, we're playing out from the back, so we're immediately under pressure again. And Foderingham there, forced to clear it long. Ben Slimani, very heavy touch for him there, and in trying to recover from that heavy touch, he's committed a foul. Yeah,
Bukayo Saka, the one challenge, and it will be a free kick for Arsenal just inside the Sheffield United half. 38 minutes on the clock in this game. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Arsenal leading by 1-0 at the Emirates against Sheffield United, and they have possession inside their own centre circle with Declan Rice. It's now Zinchenko with the ball. He goes onto the right-hand side for Ben White. Just looking for a bit of movement in front of him. Saka dropped deep to pick it up. He goes back, though, to Ben White on the halfway line and into their own half for William Saliba. Then forward to Zinchenko. Challenged well, though, by Gustavo Hamer. And now Sheffield United can maybe look to bring it forward with Ben Slimani looking for McAtee. But the pass there wasn't really on. It needed to go behind Kivior rather than straight at him. And in the end, the play breaks down and it goes all the way back to Raya in the Arsenal goal. Now Saliba goes square to Declan Rice, looking to try and bring the ball forward himself. Plays it onto the left-hand side for Gabriel Martinelli. Just looking for some options inside. He uses Declan Rice on the halfway line. He then spreads the play onto the right-hand side for Bukayo Saka. Brings it down wonderfully. Then goes back to Ben White, who goes all the way back to Saliba once again. It almost feels like the way that Sheffield United have set up, Arsenal tried to bring it forward through Declan Rice, who I think has been the most forward-thinking of the three central midfielders. It sounds strange to say, but he has been so positive with the ball. And then it goes out to Saka or Martinelli, and then they just force back once again. It's almost like they keep hitting a wall every time they try to bring it forward with any sort of urgency.
No, they have, and I have to say that to say Havertz is anonymous is probably too harsh a statement, but he's drifted out of the game. We're not seeing as much of Kai Havertz, but then that's because he's not really a sort of central midfielder. He's done all right in that role this season, but I'm not sure it's his first position. Arsenal potentially with a chance down at the edge of the area.
Martinelli with the ball under pressure from a number of Sheffield United players, including Ben Slimani, who wins the ball back, tries to play the ball looking for Ryan Brewster, but it's dealt with well by Arsenal inside the centre circle, and they retain possession once again. Martinelli now surrounded by a number of players once again, but gets the ball to Alexander Zinchenko. Now it's Smith Rowe, finds Bukayo Saka inside the penalty area, lays it off to Martinelli, goes on his left foot, Martinelli goes for goal. Wonderful save from Foderingham at the near post. I think it surprised all of Sheffield United that he went on his left foot rather than continuing on his right foot. It meant that he had the space to find the shot at the near post, but it was a good save from Foderingham.
It was. It surprised the defenders, but fortunately for Sheffield United, it didn't surprise their goalkeeper. He was ready to make the save after Martinelli dropped his shoulder. I mean, it was a nice height for the keeper, but take nothing away. It was fired at him, and he really had to make sure that he just didn't just stop it, but he also got it into a safe position, knocking it out for the corner.
Absolutely. It's Arsenal's third corner of the game, and this one on the left-hand side. It's going to be whipped in by Martinelli. It's not a bad ball in. Looking for Kivior and Saliba. In the end, it finds its way all the way to the back post for Kai Havertz. Under pressure from James McAtee. Goes back to Bukayo Saka. He then goes centrally for Zinchenko. Looks to play the return pass for Saka, but it's dealt with well. Only cleared, though, as far as Zinchenko wounds up for the shot. Blocked well by Sheffield United and just about cleared away as Saliba picks up the ball. But it was a lovely ball in from Martinelli on the left-hand side, and it was cleared away. It wasn't really properly dealt with by Sheffield United as the Brazilian has the ball once again, goes inside to Bukayo Saka into the penalty area, now back outside for Martinelli. Now Declan Rice winds up for a shot, fakes one way, then goes onto his left foot, blocked well once again as he tried to find the pass to Bukayo Saka. Ben White now lays it off to Declan Rice, just looking for some options in front of him, finds Kai Havertz, back to his midfield partner Declan Rice. Under pressure from Ben Slimani and Gustavo Hamer, they go back to Saliba, then square to Kivior. Now Emile Smith Rowe looking to try and bring it forward, goes onto the left hand side for Gabriel Martinelli, squared up by James McAtee. Martinelli drives past him with ease, goes to the byline, plays it into the middle of the park, and it's cleared away by Sheffield United as it was Emile Smith Rowe who slipped going for goal. I think it caught Foderingham out. It looked as though it was almost going to be an empty net, but that was far too easy for Martinelli to get towards the byline.
Oh, it is. It's starting to get a little bit hot onto that Sheffield United penalty area now. Things are getting a little bit more difficult here for the visitors surviving this Arsenal onslaught, and you could just sense that Arsenal have picked up that Sheffield United are under a little bit more pressure, getting that ball into the box again, and it wasn't too far away from Arsenal getting a second. Another corner kick, and it's on the left hand side again. Yeah,
looking to end the half with a flurry here, Arsenal, as it's Martinelli standing over the corner once again, whips it in, this time towards the middle of the penalty area. I think Foderingham just about got a touch on it, and it's cleared away by Sheffield United. It's an awkward ball to try and deal with for the Sheffield United goalkeeper. Just couldn't really come out for it because it was pinned right on him, and then there were so many players around him. It was so difficult to deal with, but Sheffield United have managed to get rid of it and retain possession from a throw-in, although it's given away cheaply by Ollie Norwood, and then Eddie Nketiah I don't think really knew what he wanted to do with the ball, and in the end he's lost it. And now Sheffield United can look to bring it forward with Vinny Souza, although he's forced back to Auston Trusty. Now he goes square to Jack Robinson, then it goes back to Foderingham. Short pass, but he's able to deal with it well and calmly gives it to Auston Trusty. He then spreads the play onto the right-hand side to Luke Thomas. That's a nice touch from the former Leicester man, and then Norwood tries to find Harmer, but it's overhit, and Saliba reads it brilliantly. There was some nice passing there from Sheffield United. They were living on a knife edge, but in the end it was broken down by Ollie Norwood. But Arsenal come forward now with Bukayo Saka squared up by Auston Trusty, plays into the middle of the penalty area, and it's cleared away well by Ollie Norwood. It'll be a throw-in on the right-hand side.
Well, from the neutrals' point of view, it's getting a little bit more exciting now. Sheffield United are trying to do what they can to play out whenever they get the chance. Arsenal really have injected a little bit more urgency into what they're doing. They really want to get this second goal before half-time.
Yeah, Marcelli driving towards the byline once again, tries to put it in, but I think it's blocked well, although Arsenal players are leaving the penalty area, so it looks like it will be a goal kick for Sheffield United.
That one, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I mean, it must be so hard to defend against Gabriel Marcelli because we know how devastating he is on his right foot, so they're trying to send him on his left, but he's getting to the byline so well. We've just seen a replay of how well he shot with his left foot as well. He goes both ways, does Gabriel Marcelli. He reminds me of Heung-min Son a little bit, obviously, from the other North London side, Tottenham. He's so good on both feet. It's so hard to know where to send him to.
It is, no, it's true, and I mean, arguably you could say that maybe there are far too many top-level footballers who are very one-footed that you can actually defend against them quite easily just by knowing which foot to have them on. I think that's certainly what makes players like Son and Martinelli so difficult to play against, is the fact that they do have that additional skill. And just seeing another replay of that strike from Martinelli, wasn't quite in the corner, but it's still a very good save from Foderingham. We're going to get our fourth official, Mr. Busby. He's going to tell us exactly how much time there's going to be added on to this first half. I can't imagine it'd be more than 3 minutes. We did have that long pause for Martinelli, and confirmation we are going to get 3 minutes.
Yeah, spot on from you, Paul. Good guess. As now Arsenal have the ball back along their backline with Jakub Kivior under a little bit of pressure from Gustavo Hammer, but I think Sheffield United have been quite sensible. They've not gone for the man-to-man press. They are just almost kind of looking to block out the passing lanes, and other than the goal they conceded, which was a very impressive goal from an Arsenal point of view, they have done very well denying the clear passing routes that Arsenal tend to use in these games, as Foderingham just telling his men to get further forward. I think it looks as though he is going to kick the ball long as he gestures with his hand that that's where he wants his players, and indeed the Sheffield United players oblige and step forward. We'll just wait to see where Foderingham goes with this kick. He kicks it with his left foot high into the Emirates sky, looking for the Ben Slimani on the left-hand side, but it's dealt with well by Arsenal. Then battling between Eddie Nketiah and Jack Robinson, who looks like he's lost his boot in the process, as it will be a free kick for Sheffield United inside their own half. And I think Paul Heckingbottom, while he'll be a little bit disappointed with the scoreline, I don't think he can be too disappointed with the performance so far.
No, I think it's always going to be a difficult balance for a manager in this position, where he obviously can't appear delighted to his players that they're 1-0 down against anybody, but then at the same time, if he goes in and gives them a real earful, then that's not going to help either, because they are actually doing a very good effort out there in trying to frustrate Arsenal. And barring this little flurry at the end and the goal that Arsenal have scored, there hasn't actually been that much work for Foderingham to do, and it's a long clearance from now towards the Arsenal penalty area.
Yeah, looking to try and put the Arsenal backline under a little bit of pressure. Now McAtee on the right hand side, squared up by Emile Smith-Rowe. Doing well is McAtee just to keep a hold of the ball inside the corner, just trying to get away from the Arsenal Academy graduate, but it's a good challenge from Smith-Rowe, and he's able to win his side a goal kick. It was excellent defending from the Arsenal number 10. I think similarly in this situation, Paul Heckingbottom's going to end up having to say the same thing he says in every single post-match press conference. He's happy with the performance, but the result just isn't there. And I think, other than maybe the 8-0 against Newcastle, I think he's probably been happy with every single performance.
Yes, I think so. I mean, certainly we mentioned earlier that game away to Spurs. I mean, there was a lot of things conspiring against Sheffield United that day. The game away at West Ham, they showed little glimmers there as well. That was a bit of a response after that hammering at home to Newcastle. And again, the game against Manchester United, there were some glimmers there as well. So it's just a case of how they're able to respond from this game. As we said, they've got Wolves at home next weekend. If they can apply this sort of organisation, plus a little bit more of a threat being the home side, and they should get some joy against Wolves.
Yeah, they are really missing Ollie McBurney up front. I think, he has only scored, I believe, it's 1 goal this season in the Premier League. He is a player that occupies defenders. I think that's a huge thing. We saw when they brought Cameron Archer in his first game against Everton, the two of them combined really, really nicely and put the Everton backline under a lot of pressure. They're trying to put Arsenal's backline under a bit of pressure here with Ryan Brewster, but it's dealt with well by Jakub Kivior, and the referee blows for half-time. It was a brilliant goal from Eddie Nketiah just before the half-hour mark, which has been the difference between these two sides. And while they've been dominant, Arsenal, they've not really created too many chances. It's Arsenal 1, Sheffield United 0.